Yesterday, late in the show, we found out formally that Jameis Winston is now a member of the New Orleans Saints. And so that answers that question as to whether or not they were going to get a deal done. Initially, they were just talking, right? But there were reports that they were close to a contract. Now we know that it's done. And we know the terms of the contract as well. 1 year, $1.1 million, $952,000 base salary, and a signing bonus of $148K. He can earn up to $3.4 million with incentives. Y'all, that ain't a lot of money. Not for a guy that's thrown for darn near 20,000 yards and a guy that was the number one pick in the draft and started 70 games. That ain't a lot of money. And one of the things that I say often, one of my favorite phrases, in particular as it relates to things like the Saints quarterback position. I've used this a lot with regard to Taysom Hill. Actions speak louder than words. Musso, how many times have I said that phrase in the last 3 weeks?
10,000.
Ballpark, just a rough ballpark. Say it all the time. But it's true. It's just true in life. What you do is way more valuable than what you say. So it is fair if you want to point out, well, look at Jameis's actions. Look at the crab leg story. Look at the Uber driver story. Look at when he had the beef with Lattimore. You know, he put his hand in his face. The eat a W thing. Look at his actions. That's all very, very fair. And then you hear his words. This was Jameis Winston on an IG Live interview with Charlie Ward. Charlie Ward, apparently, former Florida State quarterback, won a Heisman Trophy winner, played for the Knicks. Charlie Ward apparently does a show. It's called Chalk Talk or something. Anyway, he did it on IG Live, and then they clipped it and put it on YouTube as well if you want to go see the whole thing. But here was Jameis talking about joining the Saints quarterback room with Drew Brees.
Being a part of New Orleans Saints, being a part with Drew Brees, Taysom Hill, Sean Payton, Coach Joe Lombardi, Coach Pete Carmichael Jr. When you think about that room, I mean, that's like a Harvard education in quarterback school. So I wanted to put my ego aside, put the money to the side, and think about my family, think about my career. And it was no better position than to be in the same room with someone that I really looked up to, someone that I admired since I've been playing this game, in Drew Brees.
Want to put my ego aside, put the money aside, and do what's going to be best for my family, for my future. It's one thing to say it. It's another to prove that you're maturing with your actions. He's saying all the right things, y'all. But can't we agree that Jameis Winston's actions are mirroring what he's saying? The reports are that he had an offer from the Pittsburgh Steelers that would have paid him more money, possibly a better opportunity long term if Ben Roethlisberger is in his final season. Maybe, maybe not. But he had an opportunity to make more money or go to a different situation, and instead, his actions mirror someone who is maturing. He made a mature decision. He took less money, saying, I'm going to take less. I'm going to humble myself. I'm going to go be a backup behind one of the greatest who ever did it in this game, and hopefully this becomes the fulcrum in my career where on that seesaw I go all the way up. I think that's admirable. Winston also elaborated on why this is a good move at this point in his career.
Just understanding where I'm at in my career, I've done some great things with the Bucs. I'm going to miss being a starting quarterback, but you never know what happens. I think that this is just a great and unique step to join Drew Brees in the New Orleans Saints and learn from him, learn from one of the best to ever do it, and make a great transition in my career.
Again, that was Jameis Winston Tuesday evening on an IG live chat with Charlie Ward. Now, today, actually just within the last hour, he wrapped up a conference call with the New Orleans media, who asked him a lot about his decision to come to the New Orleans Saints, including, can you play 7, please, Musso, including if he feels like he has a future with the Saints.
Yeah, I'm focused on this primary opportunity. You know, the primary opportunity is getting a chance to work with Drew Brees, Sean Payton, Taysom Hill, and Tommy Stevens, and Coach Lombardi, and Coach Carmichael, and Coach Williams. Like, that is my opportunity. Like, that's the biggest, most important opportunity that I have right now. And I'm definitely not looking forward, looking ahead, right? I'm focused on this, what I have right now, and we'll be able to have that conversation next year or years down the road. You know, who knows? Like, we don't know. Like, I didn't think that I was going to be in this position this time last year. But God had a different plan, and I'm excited for the plan that He has for me moving forward.
Can I ask a question specifically to the people who heard this news and were that Jameis Winston was joining the New Orleans Saints and were not pleased with it? When you consider how this has now transpired over the last 24 hours, and you see that Jameis took less money, passed on other opportunities, came to New Orleans, humbled himself, wants to learn behind Drew Brees, isn't looking at a future opportunity with New Orleans or whatever it may be, just looking at this opportunity to learn behind one of the best quarterbacks that's ever played the game. If you were one of those who was opposed to this move, like, give me some feedback here, because I don't know how, given what we know now, you've heard me run through all of the measurables. Physically, can make all the throws. He's got the size. All of the tangible assets that made him a number 1 overall pick are still there in his prime. Never had a history of injuries. He's had plenty of highs on the field. He's had lows too, the interceptions that we talk about, the turnovers. But if you were against this move, it was specifically because you didn't like the person. That's it. Like, to be a backup quarterback like we've gone through, there's nothing to dislike unless if you just don't like the person. And I'm curious if Jameis has helped change your mind in the last 24 hours with not only the things he said, but in explaining his decision. His actions have shown you he made a very mature, thoughtful decision, not one driven by ego, but one driven by humility and the desire to be really good for a really long time. I admire that a lot. And the fact, and maybe the other biggest factor herein is the cosign from both Drew Brees and Sean Payton. The fact that both of them, who have seen Jameis Winston on the other sideline each of the last 5 years, the fact that they have looked at him, studied him, played against him, competed against him, and seen all the things on the field that you've seen, the turnovers and everything, and they were like, bring him. Isn't that a valuable cosign to say they're not going to bring in someone into this locker room that's going to screw it up? Like, it's worth a shot. Drew Brees told ESPN he's, quote, excited to have Winston in the quarterback room. Now, you may say, well, what's he supposed to say? Well, if he had an objection, my guess is he would have spoken up before now. I'm excited about it. I think Jameis aced the interview with Charlie Ward last night and aced his time on the teleconference today.